most of the time you're acting alone, essentially.
I know.
Was that difficult without having the normal comfort of another actor for the entire film almost?
Yeah, I have a whole new appreciation. I always had a great appreciation for what people give you. I have a whole new appreciation for it. I mean, in the good sense, I was isolated and alone in the film, so here I am isolated alone on set, and I didn't have to pretend.
Yeah.
I had nobody. I had no sound. It was dead silence once I got the earwigs and the helmet on, and so all those weird sensations and those lonely sensations, I think, helped come into play.
How did you...
I'm curious, what were some of the tougher scenes to play as Patsy?
Oh, Patsy was all tough. I think the only scene that wasn't tough was the tea party with Mistress Shaw. But the one that surprised me, I expected everything to be tough, but the one that surprised me was the scene in which Patsy's wounds get taken, get treated, because I'd overlooked that scene. I hadn't. I said, I'll lie there and they'll, you know, dab something on me, and then that will be it. But then it turned out to be the most heartbreaking because, you know, all she ever wanted was to move on, you know, to a different life. And yeah, my heart broke in that moment.
In all honesty, congratulations. I've seen a lot of movies in my lifetime, and this one just is still in my head. Just the emotional weight of this. I mean, how did that work on the set every day?
It was, you know, there's an intensity to all the aspects of the film, you know, and obviously there's this extraordinary story of this man that's there, but then there's also this incredible director, you know, Steve McQueen, who is, you know, everybody wants to kind of give 100%, but he's somebody who, you know, is not only encourages but demands that, you know.
The obvious, you lose the weight for the role. How do you get like that though? How did you do it? And how did you do that safely?
Well, you do it safely because I went and talked to 2 nutritionists.
Okay.
I called some people in the business who had done it before, and I got tips on how not to do it safely, how they did it wrong.
Okay, okay.
I also gave myself enough time. I didn't do it in 2 weeks.
All right, all right.
I did it in 4 months.
How much total weight did you lose?
47 pounds.
Wow, and you're a food guy. You like to eat.
Oh, yeah. You know that.
Yeah, I know that.
I wasn't eating any of those Kansas City ribeyes.
What's our challenge today as a people, as a nation, as a world? Like, what is, you know, we're not fighting for apartheid, and it's not the midst of the civil rights struggle, but what do you think our challenge is as a nation today?
I mean, I want to answer that quickly because I know you've got to run, but it's about, you know, like equality, you know, like, you know, there's no reason why half the world is living in poverty and the other half is living in absolute riches. There's enough for everybody, you know, and that's one of the challenges, you know, is to figure out a way for all of us to have some sort of equilibrium here, you know what I mean? I'm not saying rich can't be rich, that's fine, but let the poor eat also. Right. You know what I'm saying? There's enough world for all of us, enough resources on the world. Take away your iPhone and all of that, you can still eat and survive. Why can't everybody do that, you know?
Right. Also, another thing y'all talk about is two-ness, and I follow W.E.B. Du Bois, and he talked about this two-ness, and you talk about it from the plantation and as a butler. Mm-hmm. Do you think that we're still dealing with these
masks?
Yeah, these masks that.
I think it's different.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't feel I have to wear a mask. You know what I mean? I think that. Certainly in the job places, certain things you can't, like, people can't always, not just people of color, but you can't just necessarily always say what you want and stuff. I think we're in a time where we're aligning ourselves, we have to be authentic so that our voices can be heard. Because it's not until then that we can be totally free.
Were you familiar with the skiffs and able to bold and all that stuff before, or did you have to train to get all of those skills to be able to pull off that character?
I had to go through a lot of training for this part, you know. The second we came, Paul put us through a training for about a month and a half or so, you know. So, you know, I had to learn how to swim, I had to learn how to, you know, stunt fights, and, you know, on the skiff, you know, my part was to know how to stand on very fast going skiff, you know, and just climbing, you know, shooting guns, you know, and I had to be comfortable with all of that, which I wasn't before.
Was there ever a moment on set that was just too intense for you to sort of handle mentally and/or physically?
It's upsetting, you know, at times for sure, but because the subject matter supersedes my own problem, you know, or vanity or ego, whatever it is, or difficulties sort of emotionally, I knew we had to serve this story and this guy. It was, you know, minute to what these people were going through. And so the responsibility and reverence to that superseded all those problems. But yeah, at times it's upsetting for sure.
So how did you use that experience or that time from the 80s and use that to help process you for this role?
Well, it was interesting to step back in time. You know, I grew up in the 80s. It was a really, you know, important time in my life. And I think, you know, this film, you can't take the film away from the time that it was set in because...
Well, the time frame is the most important element, though.
Yeah, in a way it is because back then, you know, you got AIDS, you died. It was a death sentence. You got AIDS, you didn't have proper medication. So it's exactly about what was going on during this time, you know. Things have changed, certainly for the better. But this is a group of people hell-bent on surviving, and I found that to be an incredibly inspiring story.
You think the movie delves into both sides of the subjects? I mean, a lot of people that sympathize with the Somali pirates say that, you know, this is 140 miles off their coast. If it was 140 miles off the American coast, there would be tariffs and taxes and everything paid, but the Somalis weren't making any money. I mean, what is the different views on this from different parts of...
What do I think about it?
Yes.
Well, I think that the upsurge of piracy began as fishing communities responding to overfishing, but I think it long since gave way to being basically international organized crime.
Now, the book must have struck you. I know you told the story of how your wife brought the book to your attention and it led to the screenplay, but from shooting the movie, did you learn anything even different than reading on a page from like having to recreate these scenes? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, I think because when you're actually when you're writing something in New York or Amsterdam, John Willie was a writer, and I was working with him. I mean, the situation is that once you're in location, in the plantations as such, things take on a different form, because not just because of the architecture, but because of the heat, because of the smell. All of these things contribute to something which could never be formulated on a page, and actually transforms the film or the idea into something real. And that was surprising in some ways, and it was always surprising how we were going about our business and shooting this movie.
So how was it to get in these Formula One cars? I mean, like, how was that experience of being able to sit in there? 'Cause I mean, I know a lot of young men and probably some women now, if all these women races would dream of something like that. You know,
yeah, and I totally got why. It's pure adrenaline. After one lap, I thought, wow, this is amazing, you know, because it's for all the senses, you know, the sense of speed is so much higher if you're low above the ground. Then you feel the wind, and you feel the car vibrating, and the vibration goes through your body, and it smells of gasoline, and it's. I understood why, you know, young people want to become a race driver. I also...
Being inspired by The Ice Queen with Christian Andersen, how are you able to hold on to that history while creating a new film?
I think the key is, you know, understanding what inspires you about that story, and for me it was the theme. I mean, in little Gerda going up against negativity, and it's, for us, is love versus fear, and there are very strong female characters in that, and they inspired Anna and Elsa, and actually all the other characters in many ways, to be just very true to each other and very strong.
Man, am I out of shape. There we go. Illumination's super creative, and my job was to try and be just as sonically vivid as they were visually.